Welcome to Two Queens and a Joker, my narcissist ex and me. My name is Brenda. Sara and I each had a relationship and children with the same narcissist. We both have found our way out and found our way to a meaningful friendship with each other, trauma bond and all. We hope to share our stories so you know you're not the only one who has endured the crazy-making experience of being with a narcissist. Two Queens and a Joker, my narcissist ex and me, is sponsored by the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Center, where we provide therapy, classes, and support groups for people healing from narcissistic abuse. Contact us at www.narctrauma.com. Okay, so I want to start by saying that meme that you texted me this morning was so spot on.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. It basically says, "Hey, bestie." I'm going to look at it.
Why is your ex's phone number this code?
It's a diagnostic code for narcissistic personality disorder, which
I was thinking about putting that in my phone, but I don't even have his phone number.
I don't either. Actually, I blocked the last phone number I had for him.
Yeah.
So Sara had a big birthday though between now and the last time we recorded.
Yeah.
Did you celebrate?
Yeah, the kids and I, we did the fair.
Oh.
They took me to Hot Pots. It's an amazing soup place in San Diego. Then we went on a hike and we just hang out and had a really good day. It was amazing.
Oh. I think we've talked about gaslighting before. I'm just going to give a little explanation of what it is. And I always like to use the example of the movie where the term came from. Did we talk about this before?
Not where it came from.
Well, there is this movie from like 1940 called Gaslight. And the whole theme of the movie basically is this man is married to this woman who has a rich relative. I think he murders it's an aunt, and I think he murdered the aunt, and he was trying to make the wife go crazy so he could get the inheritance from the aunt.
Oh.
So, it's 1940, so they had gas lights in the house, and they were wealthy, so they had staff working in the house, and he would have the staff start slowly kind of turning the lights down. And the wife would say, "Is it getting darker in here? It seems darker." And he would say, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." And he would use other things, but the gaslight is where the term comes from. But he would use other things to make her doubt her reality. So that's where the term gaslighting actually came from.
You're gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
I like the old movies.
Yeah.
I like those.
I do too. It's
Yeah.
pretty good. The first time I heard this term, it was before I ever got into starting doing the narcissistic abuse work. And I was working with people with really severe mental illness. And this person was probably the most severe case of schizophrenia I've ever seen. So delusional. I mean, this was a pretty common state of mind for her to be in. But she was in some group, I don't know if it was like AA or something like that. And she was talking to me about it. And she said the other group members were gaslighting her. This was years ago, like 15 years ago, before this term was commonly used. And I took it back to my ACT team, which that's a whole other thing, but it's a team of social workers working with severely and persistently mentally ill people. So we had meetings every day, and I was like, she said gaslighting, and nobody knew what it meant. And we had to look it up. And sure enough, it was all of this came from the movie and everything. But I thought of all the places for me to have ever heard that phrase be used, it was that. Yeah. Interesting.
Constantly learning.
Yeah, constantly learning. Absolutely. Okay. So anyway, I want to give some examples of what gaslighting is. And then I think you and I probably have some examples too, or just have some memories pop up of how we've been gaslit.
One or two, maybe.
Yeah, maybe one or two. The first one I have is when I'm sure we've all heard that never happened. You're imagining things. I know.
Sorry.
I've heard.
The low growl.
Yeah. A flood of memories.
I feel that one is on constant replay. And that's the easiest one I think that they start with.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because you can go, did I imagine that? Am I interpreting this wrong? Did I hear it wrong? And then he or the narcissist, the joker, just disorients it just enough where you go, crap, maybe that was me.
Or take some other little piece of that conversation and brings a memory in or something that you don't really remember clearly, which makes you further doubt yourself. Yeah. I can think of a lot of things that he used to blame me of that I was like, did I do that? I don't know.
I think that's what makes survivors different because we are always questioning that.
Mhm.
Maybe it was me. Maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe he said it wrong. So we're just programmed after so long to believe it was us.
Yeah.
That when somebody outside of that family, work, whatever it is, says, you're not crazy, that is what happened.
Mhm.
It's a hard, like, slap in the face going, it was not that I was right, but I remembered it the way I remembered it.
Yep.
And here's my proof. Even if you had that proof when you're having the conversation, say there was another person involved, then that other person is lying for
Yes.
you, or well, they're just trying to get on your good side. They're
Oh, yeah.
mad at me. They don't want to see us fight. There's
Always an excuse.
yeah.
And that, I mean, that's just that lifelong training, I think, that they go through too, of just like, oh, this worked for me before. And then they just kind of build on storytelling, basically. So I have some comparison. A gaslighting term like that never happened. You're imagining things, and what a healthy alternative, if you were in a healthy relationship, what that would look like. So someone healthy would say something like, I don't remember it that way, but let's talk about it so I can understand your perspective. So can you imagine having that conversation with the Joker?
No, never.
Yeah, I can't.
That's too rational. You can't explode with that. The
Mhm.
healthy alternative. You can't find a way to be in. I mean, sure you could, but
Yeah.
it's harder for him to find the explosive way to turn the narrative.
Yeah, 100%. He would not have the introspection, I think, to even say something like this. I don't remember it that way. Let's talk about it. No way. Yeah. I don't even know what that would look like. Sorry, I'm just trying to imagine
That's
him
like-
being reasonable.
It's like what I'm seeing in my head is cartoons.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yes. Just doesn't exist. So the next one, we have definitely all heard, you're being too sensitive. It was just a joke, right?
Jokes don't hurt your feelings.
No. No. And being too sensitive is like narcissism 101 is I think each and every one of them says that to the people in their lives, right? How dare you react poorly to something that I said? And then that's a good way to deflect it and put it back on you. You're too sensitive, right?
I'm too sensitive that you're an ass.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's kind of what I hear when I read that. I'm like,
Uh,
oh, you're going to turn that? Okay. I'm too sensitive. You're the jerk that you are.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Sign me up for being sensitive to that any day of the week, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I don't ever want that to feel normal to me. I used to believe that. I used to believe I was too sensitive. I heard it from my family too, though. I was getting it from everywhere. So I figured I was.
If we're sensitive, it's not a bad thing.
No.
It's who we are. We care. We want to produce or show that caring to the world, and especially to our family, the ones that we love. There's nothing wrong with that. They cannot use that against us.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a gift. At
Yeah.
this point in my life, I think it's definitely a gift.
I think we need more sensitive people in the world nowadays. People are getting desensitized.
When I did that interview with the other podcast up in North County, one of the hosts of their podcast was saying something about noticing, like, when a narcissist walks into a room, you can feel it. You can feel the energy shift. I'm sure if it's somebody you know, like maybe not in a crowded mall or something. But when he said that, my first thought was, oh, he's a sensitive person, right? He just gets it, because you do feel that energy shift.
Well, you can sense when other people have been in that situation by the way they hold themselves, by the way they talk. Yeah.
You really can. I agree with you. First, for that you're too sensitive thing, the healthy alternative, in case we ever want to look for the right person, would say something like, I'm sorry that hurt you. That wasn't my intention. Thanks for telling me.
Love that wasn't my intention, and thank you for telling.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yes.
Huge difference. Honestly, just reading these alternatives feels kind of healing in my system.
It really does.
Doesn't it?
It like puts you back in situations where
Mhm.
you're talking to the Joker and you go, if I would have just said this. it would have changed the narrative to make a little bit of eye-opening on his part.
Yeah. It would have made a world of difference. A world of difference. Here's another
By
one.
the way, I'm going to enlarge these and post them on my wall.
Good for you. I can make you a t-shirt.
There you go. I will proudly wear that. By the way, I wore my t-shirts at the fair on my birthday, and I got a couple people coming to say, "What is that?" Nice, and I was explaining
yeah.
what it was. Hopefully, we got a couple new followers.
Sarah is talking about our Two Queens and a Joker t-shirt that I have, she has, and our family members have. I wore mine when I was in England at the Narcissistic Abuse Conference. Not one person said anything to me about it.
No,
I don't know if that's an England thing, but we did get a couple of followers in England after that. So maybe. We'll see.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we should make t-shirts with all this stuff on it.
I'm loving this.
Did I say the overreacting one yet?
Mhm.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So I'm slow going through this list. Another one that's just as common as you're being too sensitive. You're overreacting. You're always blowing things out of proportion. Oh my God. Yes. I feel like the Joker would come back to me after something happened.
Poke the bear.
It poked the bear and say, why did you do that? It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
There's one time, I think Ian was a baby. My car broke down in a shitty part of San Diego, and he took Ian out of the car and started walking away. And it was dark out, it was nighttime, and started walking away. And I'm like, I can't just abandon the car here. He takes Ian and starts walking away. And he's going to go to his brother's girlfriend's house, who lived, actually, I think we were on our way over to her house. But I lost my shit that he's going to make me leave my car there. And he's taking my baby and he's walking away, leaving me there by myself. And of course, I was overreacting. It's not that bad. This part of town isn't that bad. You would have been fine.
This one on I'm going to read this one. You're crazy, and everyone thinks so.
Oh boy.
I don't know how many times. I mean, he's said you're crazy so many times, but that everybody thinks so. And then he would name people. We're not going to go talk to those people and say, the Joker said. So you're thinking in your head, okay, well, is he talking about this to people? And he's, letting them know his version in his head.
Right.
So am I going to hang out with these people and they have this negative image of myself? It's a mind fuck.
Yes, it is.
I don't think that he ever really shared what he did or about our fights or anything like that, but he put it into my brain that he told people and everybody sided with him or said I was crazy.
Yeah. He used to do that to me too.
Which I think I'm crazy. Go ahead. If people want to think I'm crazy, I'm okay with that. I've come to that age where you don't have to like me.
Yeah.
It's not going to bother me. And I hope a lot of people get to that age. You shouldn't take until you're 50 to get to that age.
Ideally. Yeah. I don't know. I think it took me longer. I'm 10 years older than you almost. So it's taken me longer, I think, than you. Yeah. But I'm a lot there.
Yeah. Well, and you're helping me with mine. So
I hope so.
So the healthy alternative would have been, I don't fully understand your response, but I'm willing to talk it through with you.
Imagine that. Yeah.
I don't even think a lot of humans would be able to say that. We should be taught that it is okay to say that. I don't understand, but I'm willing to talk it through with you without ripping your hair off and calling you names and just saying you're crazy and you're wrong.
Yeah. I actually think there's probably a lot of people that can do this, but we just haven't met them.
This is true because the Joker was, as we have talked about, wasn't my only failure. I had another one after, and same thing.
He would do the same gaslighting stuff?
Kind of, he could never be wrong. It was everybody else's fault if he got fired from a job.
Oh, God.
Well, they do like you to show up on time and consistently.
Well, the exception should be made for him, right?
Every time.
What a joke. You want to do the next one?
You're remembering it wrong.
That goes to me back to you're always blowing things out of proportion with you're overreacting, right? This is what I was saying. What I would get a lot of this later with him. I think probably because of the friendship, you know, we would spend so much time on the phone over the years talking about things, and he'd always bring up the past. But I feel like this came up for me with the Joker a lot, where he twists the facts, or at least how I perceive the past, into a whole different story.
So yeah, he made himself into this god.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. So the healthy alternative.
We seem to remember things differently. Maybe we can piece them together. I want to meet this person.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm the easiest person to talk to, but these make it easier to open up, have a conversation.
For sure.
Being adults.
Exactly. Talking things through calmly.
Yeah, you're not being attacked.
Right. Honestly, Sarah, I had a conversation. I think your son told you about this already. He came over here and I had a conversation with him, and he did a lot of this, not the gaslighting part, but the healthy stuff. Just really was very good about give and take in the conversation. I mean, granted, we weren't talking about things that were inflammatory for he and I, but he was asking for my opinion about something, and he listened calmly and took what worked for him, I think, and what maybe not what didn't. And it was lovely.
So glad that he does that.
Yeah. Especially
Do it
given
more
the
with
example.
me.
Well, it's easier.
He tries to take everybody's perspective in because he's so smart.
Yeah.
But the way that he able to see the other perspective and try to say, okay, this is the way you're seeing it. Let me think about it. Let me try to think, okay, could I have done this differently? Could I have said this instead? And then he holds himself accountable. That's the thing with him. Like if we get into a discussion and it gets heated or whatever, he'll come back when we both calm down. We'll talk about it. And he's like, you know, I might have said this the wrong way. And I said, and I, you know, I might have taken this the wrong way. So how can we talk about this without triggering?
That's accountability in action right there.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
If you were a better partner, parent, person, I wouldn't have to get so angry.
It's all your fault.
You shouldn't have to get angry. You can be upset with someone and not literally go for their jugular.
Yes.
You can have an adult conversation. That doesn't happen with the narcissist.
No.
Not at all.
No. Yeah. To me, that's that deflection again. Like what they truly hate about themselves, they're just pouring onto whomever they can pour. And typically it's their partner.
Yeah.
Because we're the easiest target. But yeah, a better person.
The healthy alternatives really, I like it. It says, I'm responsible for how I handle my emotions, even when I'm frustrated.
Yep. Yeah.
Accountability.
That's really all of these are being reflective, self-reflective and accountable. I noticed something when Kyle and I were traveling. I can be a real asshole when I'm hot and tired, and I was not my best self. So the tube in London was great. But we're trying to figure it out, like how to get here and there. It was so much cheaper and faster than Uber's. So I was a big fan. It was also air conditioned, which was great. But Kyle had the directions of where we're going, and they were walking, and he's got the directions on his phone, and I'm just kind of walking along with him. But it's June in London, and there's a lot of tourists, and we kept getting separated. And he was not paying attention to where I was, and I ended up getting about 10 feet behind him. And that pushed me over the edge. Yeah, I was hot, miserable. He's losing me, not paying attention. And I'm feeling like shit just all over. And I took it out on him. And I'm like, you need to pay attention to where I am. And I told him, honestly, you should be the one walking on the outer side too. So he's closest to the street. That's the gentlemanly thing to do. I wouldn't have said that had I not been crabby. And then, of course, he got mad at me. He should have. I was not being very nice to him, but he was still being very thoughtful and careful about making sure when I told him, pay attention to where I am so we don't get separated. He was very good about making sure that we were very close together. I think Kyle came and sat next to me. The guy was like a couple seats over on it's not even a bench. It's more something you lean on. The guy projectile vomits. I realized we jumped up faster than anybody moved ever. And we're like, no, we'll just walk. And that kind of got me back into, okay, Kyle is my guy. He's my person here. Thank God he didn't just leave me somewhere when I was getting crabby with him, because I would have had to deal with that by myself. But all that to say, we were arguing, not getting along, but we were able to come back. And this is where Kyle's better at this than I am, because I would have held the grudge for a couple of days. But he comes back and talks to me with these reasonable responses. And doesn't always show up in the moment like any of these very lovely, reasonable responses that we have on our sheet here. But he always comes back with like thought and accountability and gentle ways of telling me what I could have done differently, which I welcome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. That's communication.
Yes.
And it didn't have to happen right at that moment.
No, and it didn't.
So
yeah. It didn't. I mean, we got through, we found the subway that would take us back to the hotel. And I think I was pouting for a while.
Which was air conditioned.
The hotel in London was beautifully air conditioned. It was lovely. I had it so cold in there.
Nice.
But yeah, but when we got back, he was very good at talking through this with me. We made up. And that was so funny. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent here. But the next day we went to see Stonehenge. So we took a tour bus. I arranged all of it. We get there. She goes, we're not on the list. She goes, that's for tomorrow. Poor Kyle. He's dealt with me being so crabby and now this. And I'm like, he has a good reason to be mad at me for this. He wasn't.
But he's not a child.
No. He was mature, and actually they let us on. The bus wasn't full, so we actually were able to go anyway. But yeah, I mean, he handled it beautifully. And I can only imagine with the Joker what that would have looked like.
Everybody should be able to be grouchy once in a while. It doesn't have to turn into something ugly.
It doesn't. And it doesn't have to mean anything in the long term either, right? Unless it's like a habit or a behavior that you don't change. We hope listening to our stories helps you know that you're not alone, you're not crazy, and you're not to blame. Please join us for our next episode where we'll share more about our healing journey and how we each got out and are staying out.